today's world, where everything moves at breakneck speed and noise assaults us from all directions, from social media to work to the endless clutter of daily worries, clear thinking is no longer a rare advantage for the privileged few. It's a responsibility. To go through life without training the mind to think clearly is like setting sail without a compass, easily swept away by emotions, prone to panic in the face of uncertainty, and likely to lose direction in one's own life. Clear thinking isn't about being quick-witted, eloquent, or persuasive. It's the ability to pause, to see deeply, and to discern clearly, to distinguish truth from fleeting emotion, to know what's within our control and what must be released. And the good news is this: clear thinking isn't a gift you're born with. It's a skill, a discipline, the fruit of consistent, deliberate practice. If we wish to cultivate that capacity, then the 6 lessons from Stoic philosophy below offer a solid foundation. 1. Stillness is the secret weapon. In every great philosophy of the world, stillness is revered, not as passivity, but as inner strength. To the Stoics, stillness is not merely an abstract concept or a fleeting meditative state, but a vital foundation for seeing life clearly. In the modern age, where we are pulled in every direction by notifications, news, expectations, and endless comparisons, stillness has become a luxury few can afford. And yet, that is exactly why it has become the secret weapon of the truly strong. When everything around us descends into chaos, the one who can remain inwardly calm is the one who still possesses the clarity to think, the wisdom to respond, and the power to act unshaken by passing emotions. Stoic stillness does not demand retreat into isolation or escape into the wilderness. On the contrary, it is a state we can cultivate right in the midst of a busy life. By pausing, by resisting the rush, by refusing to be swept away by the world's frantic pace. It might be a morning without your phone, a few deep breaths before a tense meeting, or simply sitting quietly, watching your thoughts without rushing to judge. These small, almost invisible actions, when practiced consistently, become a quiet refuge, an inner space where we can tune out the noise and listen to something more important, ourselves. Clear thinking cannot emerge from noise. When the mind is crowded with information, we become reactive. We mistake emotion for truth, and we lose command of our behavior. Stillness, on the other hand, opens a gap between stimulus and response, a space where reason can enter, where we can weigh our choices and act in line with our deepest values. From ancient times to now, Stoics have regarded inner stillness as the precondition for true resilience. Without stillness, there can be no reflection, no growth. And without growth, even the swiftest reaction is just a repetition of old reflexes. Stillness also grants us the awareness to face negative emotions without surrendering to them. When anger, fear, or disappointment flare up, our instinct is often to lash out, to say what shouldn't be said, to do what will be regretted. But if we can pause and observe these emotions within a quiet mind, we begin to see them for what they are: fleeting states, not facts. Stillness doesn't erase emotion, but it gives us the distance to see it clearly, to resist being consumed by it. In that gentle observation, we reclaim our agency, not victims of feeling, but stewards of it. What is remarkable about stillness is that it seeks no validation, relies on no condition, and cannot be taken from you. Whether you're alone at your desk, walking through a crowd, or standing in the middle of crisis, stillness, if cultivated, can be present and protective. It's not an escape from reality, but a more accurate way of engaging with it. When others shout, complain, make excuses, or cast blame, The still mind watches, analyzes, and waits for the right moment to act. That quiet presence, though silent, holds a deep and steady the power of a mind not conquered by circumstance. Stillness is also the fertile ground of self-awareness. When we're no longer distracted by the noise outside, we can turn inward and recognize the values we pursue, the goals that truly matter, and the invisible limits we've let rule us. In a world obsessed with quick responses, constant expression, and speed over substance, the one who chooses silence to observe and reflect gains a profound advantage. They not only understand others more deeply, they understand themselves more clearly, and no journey of self-mastery can begin without that. Ultimately, stillness is not a destination but a tool, a way of staying alert, honest, and intentional in every moment we love. It is the groundwork for clarity of thought, not only when life is painful, but especially when it is turbulent, demanding, or uncertain. In a world that drifts further from depth, cultivating stillness is a radical act of autonomy, a reminder that we are still capable of governing ourselves, no matter what surrounds us. And from that beginning, all paths to clear thinking truly unfold. 2. Question the unseen assumptions. In daily life, we make thousands of decisions, from trivial ones like choosing breakfast to life-defining ones like a career or life partner. Yet astonishingly, most of these choices aren't shaped by independent thinking, but by invisible assumptions, old beliefs, ingrained biases formed by our experiences, environments, or even repeated words from others. These assumptions act like unseen filters through which we perceive the world, judge others, and more crucially, define ourselves. The danger lies in their invisibility. We rarely stop to ask, do I truly believe this? Is this belief still valid for who I am today? Stoic philosophy places great value on scrutinizing assumptions, seeing it as the first step toward intellectual freedom. The Stoics believe that many fears, anxieties, and negative emotions don't arise from reality itself, but from the stories we attach to it. Stories built on deep-rooted, unseen beliefs. When someone fails at work, they might quickly conclude, I'm a failure, a judgment not grounded in fact, but in emotion-fueled assumption. Left unchallenged, that belief silently shapes behavior, feeding self-doubt, avoidance, and eventual despair. But if that person steps back, observes their reaction, and questions the hidden premise, they open the door to clarity and a more reasoned response. The ability to question assumptions doesn't mean living in constant doubt. It means becoming deliberate in thought, recognizing that not everything we think is true. A child once ridiculed for public speaking may grow into an adult who believes, I'm not good at communication, and then avoids every chance to speak or share. That belief, left unexamined, becomes a gatekeeper, stunting growth for years. But if they learn to trace the belief to its origin, to distinguish memory from current reality, they may begin to dismantle that old limit and to create space for new growth. In Stoicism, questioning assumptions goes hand in hand with self-awareness and reflective discipline. Each day, we can ask simple but powerful questions. Is this belief based on evidence? Does it serve me or hold me back? Where did I learn this? And is it still relevant now? Over time, this practice becomes a filter, helping us separate truth from the dusty layers of emotion, bias, and social influence. Those who train themselves to question assumptions gradually shed what no longer fits and move closer to a clearer, more honest, and adaptive view of both themselves and the world. Doubting assumptions not only helps us manage negative emotions more wisely, it also unlocks creativity, adaptability, and change. When someone thinks, I can't learn new things, "I'm too old." They are setting limits based on an untested idea. But if that assumption is examined through reason and reflection, they may find that learning has less to do with age and more to do with method, motivation, and mindset. Likewise, the belief that life only has meaning when others approve of me can lead to dependence on external validation and a loss of autonomy. Only by challenging these seemingly obvious notions can we step out of the shadows of the past and begin to shape a more independent mind. In our modern world, where beliefs are shaped at the speed of algorithms through viral posts, popular trends, and casually spoken opinions, keeping our minds from being absorbed by the crowd is no small feat. New assumptions form daily, slipping into our thoughts via memes, headlines, and harmless comments. Without the discipline to examine and clarify our beliefs, we become easy prey for borrowed thinking, losing the ability to think and act on our own terms. Questioning assumptions isn't defensiveness. It's a mark of intellectual maturity, a signal that we are learning to think for ourselves rather than live within narratives handed down by habit or circumstance. Ultimately, questioning the unseen assumptions isn't a one-time act, but an ongoing collision between reality and critical thought. Each time we spot a belief that no longer serves us, it's a small victory in the pursuit of mental clarity. No one can completely erase all the biases absorbed from childhood or environment, but anyone can learn to observe, to question, and slowly illuminate the inner map of their beliefs. And from that very ability, the journey begins, not one ruled by inherited stories, but one guided by reason. 3. Master what you can control. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies one of its most fundamental principles, the clear distinction between what is within our control and what is not. This is more than a theoretical idea. It is a vital practice for maintaining inner calm amid the chaos of the external world. What we can control includes our thoughts, actions, attitudes, choices, and responses. What lies beyond our control are things like the weather, other people's opinions, final outcomes, unexpected events, and the behavior of those around us. When we confuse these two realms, we often fall into frustration, anger, anxiety, and helplessness. But once we understand the boundary clearly, we learn to let go of what cannot be changed and direct all our focus and energy toward what we truly govern. To master what we can control doesn't mean ignoring circumstances or denying reality. It means choosing our response with clarity and responsibility. A person might be fired, rejected, or struck by sudden misfortune. These events lie outside their command, but how they respond, by maintaining self-respect, seeking solutions instead of blame, and moving forward with presence of mind, is entirely within their power. This attitude doesn't erase hardship, but it enhances the capacity to endure and overcome it with intention and resilience. In an era where people are easily swayed by public opinion, social pressure, and fleeting emotions, the ability to return to what one can control serves as an internal anchor amid the storm. Those who live by this principle waste no energy trying to change others, win pointless arguments, or demand the world conform to their wishes. Instead, they focus on consistency in speech and steadiness in adversity. This focus helps preserve clarity of thought and peace of mind, even when everything around them is unstable. Rather than controlling results, they commit to the process. Rather than expecting others to understand them, they learn to communicate clearly and accept differences as is. Rather than trying to please everyone, they choose to live according to their values. It's a continuous discipline, demanding patience and mental rigor. But once it becomes a way of life, it offers a rare kind of freedom, Not freedom from all limits, but freedom within the structure of reality. Practicing control over the controllable also dramatically reduces prolonged negative emotions. When someone accepts that they can't change the outcome of an exam, a failed interview, or an unexpected downpour, they stop complaining and shift into constructive action. They ask, "What can I do now?" instead of, "Why did this happen to me?" The first question reopens the path to agency and momentum. The second keeps us trapped in a victim's mindset. This shift from passive reaction to active engagement is a hallmark of Stoic training, the sign of someone learning to stand tall in a world that rarely stands still. Once someone learns to master what they can control, they begin to release the urge to control others, an effort Stoicism sees as futile and counterproductive. No one can dictate another's emotions, behavior, or perceptions. Trying to do so only leads to disappointment, conflict, and exhaustion. Instead of changing others, the Stoic path calls us to change ourselves, how we listen, how we respond, and how we set boundaries. As we become grounded, we begin to influence others not through control, but through steady action and composed presence. In an age marked by economic uncertainty, social upheaval, and dizzying technological change, the feeling of losing control has become a modern epidemic. People live with vague fears, feel small in the face of vast systems, and are often overwhelmed by the unpredictable. In such a world, returning to the principle of mastering what you can control becomes a lasting remedy for the soul. It redefines the scope of our influence, channels our energy toward where it truly matters, and allows us to live with purpose, not because we do more than others, but because we choose what truly deserves to be done. Mastering what you can control is also the gateway to other Stoic virtues: perseverance, courage, and responsibility. Those who know what is theirs to do won't be distracted by noise, wounded by rejection, or broken by challenge. They treat each situation as a test, not to prove anything to the world, but to refine themselves. From this mindset, they build lives of direction, depth, and peace, even in the most difficult moments. And that is the essence of clear thinking, not allowing what lies beyond our reach to cloud the vision within. 4. Simplicity is strength. In today's world, where we're constantly urged to chase goals, amass possessions, expand networks, and optimize every waking moment, simplicity has become a rare luxury. Yet in Stoic philosophy, simplicity isn't a retreat. It's a conscious way of living, a reflection of deep wisdom and enduring inner strength. To the Stoics, living simply isn't about rejecting a rich life, but about stripping away the excess to focus on what truly matters. It's a form of purification, not only in material terms, but in thought, emotion, and the way we structure our lives. When life is simplified, thinking becomes clearer, the mind less burdened by distraction, and energy more focused on essential values. Simplicity, for the Stoic, is the ability to distinguish between what is essential and what is. A person may live in a modest home and still feel deeply content because they are not crushed by comparison. They don't need to chase society's ever-shifting standards to feel worthy. Instead, they turn inward and realize that fulfillment doesn't come from the number of things one owns, but from the alignment between action and principle. The ancient Stoics, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, reminded us that a good life demands little, only what fits our human nature: integrity, courage, discipline, and awareness. Simplicity isn't a rejection of comfort. It's the refusal to be defined by it. Complex living pulls us into spirals of worry, expectation, and fear. A packed schedule, a cluttered home, a phone buzzing nonstop. These may look like signs of productivity, but they can quietly drain the spirit and overload the mind. Stoic teaching urges us to pause and ask, is this truly necessary? Before adding more to our lives. In this sense, simplicity becomes a deliberate safeguard for mental clarity. When we are no longer tangled in needless decisions, we can focus more deeply, act more deliberately, and carry fewer regrets. Simplicity also lives in thought. A mind cluttered with too many concerns loses the ability to discern what truly matters from what merely distracts. The Stoic trains to see through appearances, status, praise, glitter, and look straight at the essence. Is this action right? Is it aligned with my values? Is it within my control? Such mental clarity dissolves much of our inner conflict, because we stop wrestling with illusions and deal instead with what's real. We learn to drop the repetitive thoughts that drain us and nurture those that build calm, resolve, and reason. Moreover, simplicity is the ground of freedom. The less we depend on things, on others' approval, or on society's scripts, the more we are able to choose freely. We no longer waste time maintaining an image, pleasing the crowd, or chasing trends to feel included. In that simplicity, we reclaim our time, our focus, our direction. We learn to say no to what no longer serves us, and yes, with clarity, to what truly matters. In a world that demands more, do more, know more, have more, choosing to live simply is a quiet act of rebellion, and a powerful one. It's a statement that human worth lies not in accumulation, but in a discernment. Stoics don't seek to stand out through appearance, but to live deeply through experience. They understand that a life crowded with too much dulls the senses to what is small and sacred, and it is in the simple that we rediscover gratitude, wonder, and a true connection to what makes us human. Simplicity, then, is more than a lifestyle. It is a way of thinking, a way of seeing, and the mark of a mind that has been disciplined not to yield to the seductive complexity of the material world. 5. A growth mindset is the path out of stagnation. In Stoic philosophy, personal growth is not viewed as a private choice, but as an essential part of living rightly. A growth mindset, from a Stoic perspective, is the ability to see oneself as a being capable of learning, evolving, and continuously adapting to reality. We are not born complete, nor are we confined by fixed limits. Instead, we are given a unique capacity, the ability to improve ourselves through discipline, observation, and reflection. A growth mindset rejects stagnation, because stagnation signals a mind that has surrendered, no longer striving to refine its character, sharpen its reason, or deepen its awareness. For the Stoic, to live without growth is to waste the gift of existence. The ability to learn from failure is one of the clearest signs of a growth mindset. Rather than seeing failure as an endpoint or proof of inadequacy, those with a growth mindset recognize it as a natural part of becoming. A mistake is not something to erase. It is a chance to analyze, extract a lesson, and return stronger with greater insight. In Stoic thought, every experience, good or bad, is raw material for inner development. A rejection, a stumble, a moment of weakness, all of these can become tools to reveal our blind spots, so we can adjust and move forward. The perseverance to learn through hardship doesn't just fortify the spirit, it builds a foundation for enduring strength. A growth mindset also carries with it a spirit of personal responsibility. Those who embody it don't blame circumstances, dwell in the past, or use others as excuses for their own inertia. They ask themselves, what can I do to move forward from here? A question that reveals awareness and a will to rise, regardless of external conditions. In Stoicism, Avoiding responsibility is seen as a form of self-imprisonment, stripping one of the power to change their own life. But by embracing responsibility, a person opens the door to the freedom to choose perspective, response, and action, the willingness to admit fault, learn from it, and transform it into something better, is the mark of a maturing mind. Beyond that, a growth mindset shapes how we approach knowledge. Those who live by it never consider themselves done learning. They remain curious, open, and committed to lifelong study. For Stoics, learning isn't confined to classrooms or books. It happens in every interaction, every experience, every ordinary moment. A deep conversation, a passing observation, an unexpected challenge. Any of these can become lessons. Growth halts the moment we stop asking, questioning, or receiving. Thus, a growth mindset is not a phase. It is a way of life, a continuous commitment to self-improvement through every choice and every act. A growth mindset also requires the courage to overcome the fear of being judged. Social scrutiny, external expectations, and collective norms often keep us locked inside comfort zones. But Stoicism insists that true progress can't be achieved if we only act in ways that earn praise or feel easy. Every time we face discomfort, try something new, or take ownership of our flaws, we move forward. Acknowledging our imperfections doesn't weaken us. It reveals a powerful inner strength, the power to change, to improve, and to continually strive toward a better version of ourselves. Another key trait of a growth mindset is persistence. Those who embrace it don't expect instant transformation. They understand that real progress is often slow, quiet, and hard to see in the short term, but they remain undeterred. They see the process itself as essential to the outcome and are willing to embrace repetition, monotony, and the fatigue in the training of character. Their perseverance isn't fueled by bursts of inspiration, but by the belief that small, consistent actions lead to lasting change. Stoicism doesn't celebrate quick results. It values the integrity of steady, right action, even in its smallest form. Ultimately, the Stoic view of growth isn't limited to self-improvement. It extends to service and contribution. As someone becomes more composed, more principled, and more clear-minded, their life doesn't just change. They begin to positively affect the world around them. They become living examples of maturity, inspiring others not through speeches, but through presence. Growth is not a solitary pursuit. It's a ripple effect, where each personal breakthrough contributes to a larger transformation in the community and beyond. In that spirit, Stoicism offers more than an escape from stagnation. It provides the foundation for a life of meaning, purpose, and enduring refinement. 6. Listen to understand, not to react. In Stoic philosophy, listening is more than a communication skill. It is a form of deep thinking, reflecting self-control, and a genuine understanding of others. True listening isn't about hearing words or waiting for your turn to speak. It's an intentional act that requires full presence and an open mind. The Stoic doesn't listen to counter or prove themselves right. They listen to grasp the essence of what's being said, to expand awareness, and to respond with reason rather than impulse. This requires patience, calm, and the ability to set aside ego in the midst of conversation. Listening in Stoicism is not only directed outward, it's also a tool for self-observation and inner clarity. When we listen with true attention, we begin to notice our automatic reactions, hidden biases, or unresolved emotions rising within. A casual remark from another can trigger irritation, defensiveness, or even responses that, if left unchecked, often lead to rash words or regrettable actions. But by listening from a place of observation rather than reaction, we begin to master these subtle inner movements, preserving both clarity and composure in our interactions. That self-command is essential for clear thinking and harmonious relationships. The depth of one's listening also shows in the refusal to project personal assumptions onto another's story. In many exchanges, we instinctively interpret others' words through the lens of our own experience, emotions, or expectations. This often results in misunderstanding, misjudgment, and misplaced reactions. Stoic philosophy emphasizes objectivity and intellectual honesty, and so listening must also involve separating feeling from light and reaction from reality. When we listen to understand, we don't interrupt, we don't rush to conclusions. We allow the speaker the space to fully express their thoughts. Only when the whole picture is clear can a response be thoughtful, accurate, and constructive. Listening doesn't just support clearer thinking. It also lays the foundation for empathy and meaningful human connection. In modern life, people are increasingly fragmented by technology, speed, and performance pressure. Conversations grow shallow. We listen to reply, not to understand. We react quickly, but reflect rarely. The Stoic goes against this current. They slow down, focus, and become fully present in dialogue. This depth of attention lets them hear more than words. They sense emotional tones, unspoken needs, and meaning beneath the surface. That presence builds trust, making others feel truly seen and heard. In tense situations, listening to understand helps prevent conflict from escalating. When someone is angry or frustrated, the instinctive response is often to defend, deny, or retaliate. But when one person stays grounded and listens with intention, they create space for the other's emotions to be acknowledged, softening the moment and opening a path to mutual understanding. In Stoic practice, this is the discipline of self-mastery, choosing reason over reactivity, knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, when to ask rather than assume, is the mark of a mind shaped by discipline and guided by compassion. Listening to understand also expands our perspective. Every person carries a unique set of beliefs, life experiences, and ways of seeing the world. When we listen without judgment, we gain not only insight into the other person, but also access to viewpoints we may have never considered. Contrary perspectives, when met with calm and openness, can become fuel for deeper awareness rather than threats to defend against. This is how Stoicism cultivates intellectual flexibility without sacrificing principle. The Stoic doesn't cling to rigid beliefs. They test and refine their views constantly through contact with reality and others. Ultimately, in Stoic thought, listening to understand is not just about others. It's a path of inner development. It helps us remain calm amid chaos, sharp in conversations, and attuned to the unspoken. When listening ceases to be a social reflex and becomes a tool for cultivating wisdom and virtue, every conversation becomes more than an exchange of words. It becomes an opportunity for mutual growth. And it is in that deliberate silence that true understanding takes form. Not from words, but from full presence, awareness, and sincerity. There was a time when I often felt mentally exhausted. Even though everything on the outside seemed to be going according to plan, I got my work done, maintained my relationships, and was even praised for being responsible. But deep down, I felt like I was running endlessly on a wheel that never stopped. I reacted to everything on autopilot, easily swayed by emotions, gradually losing the ability to think clearly. Things only began to shift when I learned to pause, not to escape, but to observe myself, as if holding a mirror to my own mind. The lessons from Stoic philosophy didn't come to me as abstract theories, but through real personal collisions. a failure that made me want to give up, an argument that made me realize I was listening only to replies yea, not to understand, or the mental chaos of trying to control things completely beyond my reach. I started applying small changes, creating moments of stillness each morning before touching my phone, asking, "Is this truly necessary?" before saying or doing anything, focusing on actions instead of obsessing over outcomes, and learning to see failure as a quiet teacher. The more I practiced, the more I realized I didn't need to change the world to find peace. I just needed to learn how to govern myself. And that self-governance, once rooted, became the steady foundation for a life that is clear, intentional, and not easily shaken. If something in this message spoke to you, leave a comment saying, "I think clearly," as a commitment to yourself. And if you want to keep exploring the depth of clear thinking, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out other videos on the channel, where we don't just talk about philosophy, we practice living it. See you in the next one.